Hello and welcome once again to one of those Wednesdays where we have a look at what Tinto Talks has on offer for us for Project Caesar. And, well, we are talking about diplomacy today. As you can see, the man here, he's having a bit of a handshake here. This is how diplomacy is made. This is it. This is the entire sum total of diplomacy. No, let us get into talking about diplomacy. Before we do that, though, I am still a little bit sick. My voice is getting a little better, so we're on the mend. It's great. Hopefully, it will continue to just get better and better. But until then, I am Batman. But anyway, let's move on. Let's have a look at what we have. Welcome to another Tinto Talks. It's the happy Wednesday where we discuss the details of our rather secret game, Project Caesar. Today we'll go deep into how the diplomatic system works in Project Caesar. The core of the system is similar to our other grand strategy games, has much in common with EU4, Imperator, and Victoria 2 in particular. Okay, so keep these three games in mind. Some of you may be very familiar with something we're talking about today, but not everyone reading this has played 5,000 hours in every GSG we've made. That's a fair point. There are parts of today's Tinto Talk that'll be very, what the fuck, man? I already know this already, for many of you. That's fair, and I think that is very specifically pointing at things we've seen. Specifically the Peace Deals dev diary. I made a comment there in my own video, and very many people in the forums did as well, that there's nothing new here, and that's seen as a bad thing. Excuse me. And that's seen as a bad thing. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, looking back on it. Not every element of EU4 needs to be, identical with, extras. Some things can just be as is, right? Some things work well enough already in EU4 that they didn't need to be completely refreshed. Sometimes doing something radical and new is a massive failure. Naming no names, but it came in at Dev Diary number 22. But no, we move on. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Diplomacy. Let's get back to diplomacy. When it comes to diplomacy, we've based our interface solutions for diplomatic actions from two paths. First, when you have a country selected, you can get the classic way of seeing diplomatic actions related to that country. We also have the sometimes more useful way of selecting the diplomatic action and then seeing which countries will accept it. Again, this is already in EU4. Both ways of doing this. It's called the macro builder. The diplomatic area of the macro builder will do all of that for you, so nothing new there. Fair enough. Diplomats. While this game may not have the immortal envoys of EU4 that limited how much diplomacy you could do at one time, interesting, diplomats are gone. In Project Caesar, you have a diplomatic corps, or diplomats, as we referred. You don't have diplomats, but you have diplomatic corps, and we call them diplomats. It's probably not that. Let's move on. It represents how much diplomacy a country can do at any given time. Some advances, laws, or societal values will increase the amount, and there are also some buildings that will have an impact. Good to know. Every diplomatic action you do requires at least one diplomat, and while they are a renewable resource, you may need to ration them. Okay, so this is actually kind of interesting. You gain 0.3 diplomats every month due to various things. And then you can spend them on diplomatic actions. Like, oh, I can't send you an alliance right now because I've only got 0.2 diplomats available. If anyone has played Victoria 2, and that's the reason that I've got Victoria 2 music in the background, this is the system from Victoria 2. It very much looks identical to the system from Victoria 2, where you would accrue diplomatic points. I forget what exactly they're called. I think they've got some different name. But basically Diplo points, and then you accrue those, and then you can spend them on diplomatic actions. And you have a maximum as well. This can go up if you are a larger country. Various other things will make this go higher as well. Is this better or worse than having diplomatic envoys? I'd say it's about the same, right? We can't really do the EU4 system of diplomatic envoys because we have a character system. And unless you want to assign one of your characters to specific diplomat slots and just have them doing things, and then the annoyance of having to switch over to a new one, and what happens when a diplomat has various skills, like how are they going to affect their diplomatic abilities. All of that is kind of unnecessary, let's say. It would work, and it could work like that. Using characters as diplomats could absolutely work. But it's awkward, and it would need to basically have a lot of time spent on it to make sure that it isn't just kind of annoying. I'm fine with this. I worry. One thing, though, is in EU4, when you used your diplomat to, say, improve relations with somebody, that diplomat would be out of action for the duration of that time where he's improving relations. Are we going to have, I'm improving relations, so now I'm only getting 0.2 diplomats a month. Maybe something like that could work. I don't think it should be, okay, I'm spending my one diplomat, and now it's going to start growing again. And that diplomat is just kind of lost to the ether. You're just gaining that improved relations over time, but there's not actually any diplomat there. You can't, like, return him. He's just going to do what he's doing. I know in Imperator, when you did improve relations with somebody, it would be no characters involved, no diplomatic points involved. It would, I think it was a political influence cost. And you'd spend that political influence, and then you'd forget about it, right? The diplomat isn't there; it doesn't exist. I'm wondering which route they're going to go with. But hey, let's move on. Let's have a look. In almost all grand strategy games we've made, we've tracked relations between countries, often in the completely natural and intuitive range of +200 to -200. I said that the wrong way around, but whatever. Early on, the relation was a single value. But in EU4, over a decade ago, we introduced the concept that country A could view country B in one way, and country B could view country A in another way. This game is no different in that regard. Okay, so two-way diplomacy, that's fine. These opinions are calculated depending on the various states between countries, like religion, culture, diplomacy, and much more, and can have temporary impacts from actions. Opinion is how much a country likes or dislikes another country. The difference between trust and opinion is that a high opinion will stop a country from being hostile, but would need to trust to be able to work together. Okay, so same. This is identical to EU4. So if you played EU4, this is the same. You have multiple ways to influence this with diplomacy, but the most direct ones you have is often improved relations and send gift diplomatic actions. So improve relations, they use some of your monthly diplomatic actions. So some of this makes me think that you are actually going to be reducing this number while improve relations is on. Okay, I'm okay with this. And then send gifts, instant opinion increase for sum of money. Again, identical to EU4. The Neapolitan opinion of the Crown of Aragon, it's at -29.5. They recently lost conflict. We've got Catholicism giving +40. If you're both Catholic, fair enough. Court language, again, this is something that keeps popping up. We've seen hints of this existing, like way back when we saw the trade for the first time. But now we're also seeing it be a thing in opinion, which is interesting. I do want them to expand on what language does in the game. A dedicated dev diary all to do with language would be kind of nice. Trust, though, is making a return. It represents how likely one country finds it that the other country will act honorably towards them. Whether friend or foe, trust is a crucial component in forging lasting agreements. It's hard to get and easy to lose. You can always send a diplomat to profess trust, which will increase their trust in you, but your diplomatic reputation will be lowered for the next 5 years. Okay, so this is normal, right? We've seen this in EU4. This, though, is something added onto it, something extra, something new. Losing Diplo rep while you're professing trust, you're currying trust, I guess, is certainly interesting. It wasn't a way that you could do this in EU4 other than spending favors for trust. Now we're spending an actual diplomat for trust. So that's why the cost is a bit different. Okay, fair enough. Favors do, however, make a return. They represent how much one country has promised or otherwise owes to another country. Favors can be spent to ask the other country to do something. If favors get too unbalanced, refusing to do these things can cause a loss of trust or even diplomatic reputation. This is certainly interesting. Like, favors existing, awesome, love that. favors becoming unbalanced is, yeah, if I have, if I have 50 favors on you, that means you need to do 50 things for me, and I only have 30 for you, and you ask me to do something more. If I say no because those favors are unbalanced, maybe that doesn't take such a hit as it would do if they were both at 50. I like this. This is an improvement of this mechanic. I like it. You gain favors by helping allies and supporting them at need. Can also be use some of your diplomats to curry favors. Yep, seen that in EU4. Reduce the monthly diplomats you gain each month. Okay, the fact that it's being pointed out here, but it wasn't being pointed out here, makes me think that maybe this isn't. But then use some of your monthly diplomatic actions. Maybe it is the same. It's just written differently. I would maybe want a little bit of clarification there. At the same time, you grant your country favors on a target country, and they get favors on you. Okay, so it's two-way as well. When you curry favors, both sides get favors. Okay, all right, fair enough. Spy networks describes the extent to which a country has infiltrated another with a network of informants, double agents, and general turncoats, and thus how much inside knowledge they have of that country. Used to perform a variety of insidious diplomatic actions. You needed to use a diplomat to start building a spy network, and while it is then active, you will get less diplomats each month. So a lot of things are reducing this number. Including annexing countries. Opinion improvements is right here. The thing is, though, trust is not there. Alright, because that's diplomatic reputation. Never mind. But favors are there. So, not everything is on that list, but yeah, maybe I should have seen that opinion improvements should have been there. Yeah, that's going to make this resource very, very valuable. Very valuable indeed. Anyway, the speed at which your spy network is built up depends on your spy network construction capacity, and the target country's counter-espionage reduces it. The size of your spy network in a country impacts your siege ability and how much aggressive expansion you get from treating them badly. This is identical to EU4, this sentence. So is this. This is the only new thing. Fair enough. So, active spy network here in Portugal. Spy network construction, counter-espionage. I wonder if counter-espionage is this is an action that I'm doing, I'm counter-espionaging you, or if it's simply your spy defense. Because in EU4 you had both of those things. So it would be worth maybe asking in the comments about that, and seeing if that is actually a separate thing. So, diplomatic reputation. It represents how highly regarded a country is in international relations. There are advances that will increase it, but it's also increased by your country's prestige and decreased by your aggressive expansion. Okay, interesting. I like that. AI countries look very much at diplomatic reputation when it comes to accepting diplomatic offers. So, aggressive expansion, does it reduce your people's opinion of you, or does it reduce people's diplomatic reputation, or does it do both of those things? So if you were very belligerent, you would have no Diplo rep at all. Wow. Yeah, I mean, if aggressive expansion reduces it, yeah, this could get really low. It'd be nice if this was shown with some aggressive expansion modifier on here as well, just so we can get a basic gist of how much that would affect it. Diplomatic range is making a return from Imperator Rome. It was a concept they introduced in Imperator where you can't just do diplomacy with every country on the map. In early games, we had this hidden from the player, and it was merely something that the AI kind of used. Now it's something that matters, and it's based primarily on advances and the rank of the country. Diplomatic range limits the physical distance our diplomats can travel to conduct diplomacy. The distance to be traveled is from one capital to another, and I imagine this is going to be where the controversy lies. So, for instance, in Imperator, there were situations where a country couldn't do diplomacy with another, even though they had borders with one another, because of the restriction on it being, where your capital is. So if you have a look here, Aragon is currently incapable of doing diplomacy with the Mamluks, which to me seems very strange. In my opinion, diplomatic range should be affected very heavily by your naval range. I would argue, and I am correct here. This is not an argument. This is me just professing reality to you. I would argue that in 1337 it was more difficult for Aragon to send diplomats to fucking Rostov than it was for them to send diplomats to the Mamluks. I would argue very, very successfully that sending a boat from, the coast of Iberia to the coast of Egypt is easier than sending a boat out into the fucking ocean, through the English Channel, through the Straits of I can't remember what they call these, Skåne Gate, whatever, through the Danish Straits, up through the Baltic, into the Gulf of Finland, and then, when you reach Neva, then traveling your ass across this very, ill-developed, low control, low communication efficiency, if you will, bad roads, all the way to Rostov. Let's be honest, a boat from here to here, way easier. Diplomatic range should not be just capital to capital range. This diplomatic range should be, honestly, heavily naval based. Heavily naval based. I do hope that this is reworked, because to me this makes no sense. It makes no sense that Aragon can talk to Rostov but not to the Mamluks. Yeah, no, that's it. That's the tweet. No, yes, I'm 100% behind having a diplomatic range. It needs to be naval based. I mean, not all naval based, right? Because, Bohemia then wouldn't be able to talk to Trier. But when you have the ability to naval boat diplomat, you should naval boat diplomat. It's just that simple. Rivals, though, let's move on. In Project Caesar, we have the system of rivals, which is fairly similar to the one in EU4 with a few differences. First of all, the selection of rivals is less opaque and follows a few simple rules. A valid rival is someone with a geographical area that is of similar and higher rank, or shares a culture group. The geographical area for an empire is at the same continent or adjacent subcontinent, while for a country, it's the same area or adjacent province definition. Of course, you can always rival someone that has declared you as a rival. Okay, so definitely enjoying the fact that it's less opaque. 100%. Second, if you don't pick enough rivals, your actions that increase aggressive expansion will give you more. Okay, I don't know how to feel about that. On the one hand, good that there is a tangible, reason that you must pick rivals. Right? Instead of it being I can deal with my PP not going up. Pretty sure they do pills for that. But now there is something that's like, if you don't pick your rivals, you're really going to suffer from the AE. On the other hand, that makes no fucking sense. Why would I get more aggressive expansion for conquest of, say I have... Let me do the pirate software thing. Say I am country A. Yeah, this is me. I have two rivals, right? I have 3 rival slots, A, B, and C, or say 1, 2, and I have not decided to get a third. Say I want to conquer this piece of land from country 5. I'm getting more aggressive expansion because I haven't rivaled a third country? I don't understand how that makes logical sense. There isn't, if this line is logic, then, it's broken. It's broken. There's no line of logic. Yeah, let's stop doing the pirate software thing. It's his thing. But no, I don't know about this. I like... Forcing you to pick rivals, I'm already actually kind of... I don't really enjoy that. Especially if you get too large in EU4, and you don't have rival slots, there's no possible rivals, you're too big, then you ended up in a situation where the people with the highest power projection are the small guys, right? If you sort, especially if you go into like a multiplayer game, or even just, you know, a single player, whatever, and you sort by who has the highest power projection, it ain't the big guys. Because they're incapable of actually doing the show strength wars. They're incapable of getting the humiliates, right? They are, because the opportunity cost is fighting somebody as big as you. If you're small, fighting someone as big as you isn't as hard as doing that when you're big. So I don't like that rival slots are essential, and I think there needs to be, what do you get? What do you get for having a rival? You can create casus bellis on your rivals if you have a spy network built up there. Is this not possible on all countries? You can always create a CB on your rivals. I suppose CBs were a little bit more limited. We did learn that, actually. So maybe that's fine. But there isn't any tangible benefits for... I mean, there is no PP, right? There is just no... There's just no more PP. So I guess that's fine. I'm just not vibing with this. I think this is really what I'm not vibing with, and should there be a penalty for a country if they are rivalless, if they choose not to engage in belligerent diplomacy with others? Should there be a penalty? I don't know. Yeah. There's also no cooldown on replacing a rival, but it costs you a little bit of stability. I guess a little bit. It's not insignificant amounts of stability. Remember that a rival is a country that's perceived as having conflicting interests and will block you from having alliances. Any countries that share rivals get higher opinions with one another. Yeah, that's normal then. So for Aragon, your potential rivals, we got Navarre in there. We got France, Morocco, Tunis, Naples, Castile, Granada. Okay, I guess. I wonder how many rival slots you have as well. It's probably going to be 3. It's probably just going to be 3. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't vibe with this. Other than that, I'm kind of fine with it. Diplomatic capacity, as suggested by many of us back in Tinto Talks number 12. We changed the diplomatic relations slot system to become a diplomatic capacity system instead, where the cost of an alliance depends on the power of the ally, and similarly, subjects cost different things depending on their type and size. So Aragon has Majorca as a vassal, and just for... it's actually easier to see on the previous image. Majorca is, 2 islands and a bit, right? It doesn't even own all of the 3rd island. So it is a relatively small vassal. And yet it is costing basically, over half of your diplomatic capacity at the start of the game, which is kind of insane. The cost for an alliance depends on the power of the ally, and similarly, subjects cost different things depending on their type and size. Aragon has only 1 vassal at the start, but it's not that small. I would disagree. I think it's pretty small. I do like the system, though. Though I worry that it's going to be very limiting, and then all of a sudden, not limiting at all. That is my worry. Hopefully they're able to kind of skirt around that issue that I've just invented in my head. So diplomatic action and treaties. We'll not talk anymore about unions and subjects, as they'll be covered in later Tinto Talks. I would argue that maybe Aragon uses X amount on an alliance with Portugal or Naples. Probably not Naples. But literally put an alliance in here. Show us how much the alliance would cost with, a country. We can see the size of the country. We can see how much diplomatic capacity it uses, and that would be very helpful for us. Is it just that vassals are ridiculously overcosted? Like, if Aragon allies Castile, is that going to be like 150? And we can see the size of Castile, and see the size of Majorca, or is it, relative to this? So if I ally Navarre, which is relatively similar size to Majorca, it's going to be around about the same amount of diplomatic capacity. But if then Aragon allies Castile, it's going to be like 7 out of 3, and you're going to have... Well, is there a penalty for going over as well? There's nothing here that talks about penalties for going over. This is a huge change of a system, and I think there just needs to be a little bit more here. What's the penalty for going over? Anyway, treaties. No more about subjects. They'll thoroughly discuss as many possibles of other types of diplomatic treaties and actions. Diplomatic action costs a diplomat to do, but not all of them create a treaty. Treaty is something that lasts over a period of time. It can be anything from an alliance to food access for your armies. So, are alliances not permanent, is the question. Because this is where this would be. And actually, I don't see it. I don't see it. Let's go on and I'll explain what I mean. Counter actions include some of the ones mentioned above, like improving opinion, professing trust, curry favors. Some other friendly actions include the following. Defensive leagues. It's an imperator, it's a defensive alliance. Fair enough. Guarantees. You can ask a powerful country to guarantee you. I like that. That's a huge difference. Propose ruler. If you've got adults of your dynasty that are not your current ruler, you can propose that they become the ruler of another monarchy. If they're in a regency without any valid heir, cool. Unshare maps allows you to give the maps of an area to another country. Instead of it being requesting maps, it is sharing maps. All right. And that is friendly actions. I assume there are more. I have to assume there are more because just a regular ass alliance ain't here. And also, which one of these is temporary and which one is permanent, right? Lasts over a period of time. Is that period of time, 600 years, considering the game is only 500 years long? Or is it that, these defensive leagues last for 10 years, 25 years? Can I set that amount of time when I go to ask? Will a country accept an alliance for, 11 years, but asking it for 15 years will be, more, they got more negatives in order to accept that. That is certainly something I think I would really like to see, actually. Anyway, hostile actions. Actions that tend to be rather offensive to the receiving part and damages the opinion and trust. Some of them are intervening in war. Empire rank people can join on the defender side if the opinion of that country is high enough. I think this should be offenders as well. Intervene in war on either side should be the thing. Isolate from allies, make them break an alliance they have, cost you a fair amount of favors. Yep, we've seen that before. Send an insult, reduces opinion of you, but they'll get a casus belli on you, as if that's the positive. I actually don't see what the need for an insult is anymore. Why bother with send insult? What is the point of that? Why I don't see how that is necessary anymore, because it won't increase your PP because PP don't exist. Threaten war. If you've got a casus belli for a province, you can use this to threaten with war, and they have a chance of accepting it. Only kingdoms and empires. And this is for province size, so multiple locations at a time. That could be cool. Covert actions. These are the ones you need a spy network in the target country to be able to do. You could view them as hostile. They're a bit more sneaky here. Some of them include the following. Corrupting officials reduces the effectiveness of their cabinet. That's cool. I like that a lot more than I like corrupt officials in EU4. Infiltrate administration removes fog of war of the country. Cool. Steal maps when you want the map of Caribbean. Supporting rebels, something that unlocks in the Age of Renaissance. Okay, so the fact that this is being said, does that mean these are always available? It would be cool if they were always available and not unlocked by technology. But yeah, cool. Okay. I think Support Rebels is going to be way more powerful in EU5 than it is in EU4, for sure. And then economical actions. They're more in the grey zone between totally friendly and totally hostile, more or less related to the economy part of the game. Some of these actions include block building in country. It'll block them from building buildings in your locations, which can be useful when you don't want some English trade offices in all of your cities. Fair enough. Embargoing nation, reduce the market attraction of their markets on your locations, making them more likely to trade in other markets. Their trade will no longer be allowed to enter your territory as well. And requesting a loan, something you usually send to a banking country so you can get money from them. Okay, cool. I like it. And then finally, we have the access actions. We have military access. We've seen that before. March your armies through another country's territory. Food access, where you can have your army supplied in another country's territory. And fleet basing rights, where you can be allowed to base your ships in their ports. All of them have the option to offer it to another country and request it from them, while military access can now also be requested to be bought. Okay. So does that mean military access is something you have the ability to, get something from if you are giving it to someone else? That would be cool. I like that a lot, if that is the case. Of course, there are many country-specific diplomatic actions that we talked about after Christmas when they start doing the flavor talks. I am heavily looking forward to that. And the subject actions we talked about in the Tinto talks about subjects. But next week, it's something completely new, something different. This is the exciting one, right? We had a couple of dev diaries. We had, peace deals, and now we've had diplomacy, which are relatively familiar. They're comfy. They're cozy. There's things that, for the most part, we've seen before. This one has a few more deviations than the peace deals one did, but this is still comfy. There's nothing here that's like, you no longer have troops on the map, and now it's all shit. Like, nothing in here is like that. But being able to see something completely different is exciting, as long as it's something good, Thoughts, though. I think this is the one that worries me. This is the one that worries me. I want this changed. I think as soon as I finish my video, I'm going to write a lengthy comment about basically what I've just said. But other than that, I'm relatively happy. The rival one is a bit weird as well, but, we move. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back on Friday, where hopefully my voice will be 100%, where we're going to be looking at the map of the whole of China. So I expect that to be a long one. I expect that to be a very interesting one. So if you would like to, be aware of when that video comes out, hit the subscribe button so you get a notification for it. Oh, the bell as well, sure. If you want to help me out as well, a like and a comment go a ridiculously long way. Really, you'd be surprised. So if you want to help me out, do that. And I will see you guys on Friday. Toodaloo.